Mary Magdalene, unveiling the true story of Jesus' faithful follower. Mary Magdalene is undoubtedly one of the most mysterious and misunderstood figures in Christian tradition. Over the centuries, her image has been distorted by misconceptions that have created a stigma difficult to dispel. Traditionally, Mary has been portrayed as a woman of questionable morals, associated with a repentant prostitute redeemed by her encounter with Jesus. However, this interpretation is far from confirmed by the original biblical texts. The truth is that this portrayal was fueled by centuries of historical confusion, incorrect interpretations, and, to some extent, a strategy to minimize the role of Mary Magdalene, who was, in reality, one of Jesus' most devoted disciples. How did the confusion about Mary Magdalene arise? This mistaken view of Mary Magdalene as a prostitute began to take root at the end of the 6th century, when Pope Gregory I, Gregory the Great, delivered a sermon that merged different women mentioned in the Gospels into a single figure. To Gregory, Mary Magdalene was at once the sister of Martha and Lazarus, Mary of Bethany, and the sinful woman who anoints Jesus' feet in the house of Simon the Pharisee in Luke 7. In this account from Luke, the woman is unnamed and is described only as a sinner. At no point does the Gospel identify her as a prostitute, but with Gregory's sermon, this woman became definitively associated with Mary Magdalene. This interpretation was perpetuated for centuries and profoundly influenced Christian art, literature, and theology. Renaissance paintings, for example, portrayed Mary Magdalene as a sensual, penitent woman, often depicted semi-nude in acts of repentance. Thus, this distorted image was reinforced. Mary Magdalene came to be seen as the prostitute redeemed by Jesus. What do the Gospels really say about Mary Magdalene? A closer examination of the Gospels reveals no mention that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. The sacred texts only indicate that she was a woman from whom Jesus cast out 7 demons, Luke 8:2, Mark 16:9. At that time, demonic possession was often associated with physical or psychological conditions, rather than with any specific moral behavior. Nowhere do the Gospels link Mary's affliction with illicit sexual practices. Mary Magdalene is thus presented as a woman healed by Jesus who, in gratitude and devotion, became one of his most loyal followers. She not only accompanied Jesus in his ministry but also supported his mission financially, being one of the disciples present at crucial moments, such as the crucifixion and the resurrection. The importance of Mary Magdalene in Jesus' ministry. The confusion between Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, and the sinful woman mentioned in Luke facilitated the merging of these figures into one. Over time, the distinction between these Marys faded in Christian tradition, and Mary Magdalene's image became tainted by association with prostitution. It was only in 1969, during the Second Vatican Council, that the Catholic Church officially corrected this error, revising the liturgical calendar and declaring that Mary Magdalene should not be confused with either the sinful woman from Luke or Mary of Bethany. This correction opened doors to a reassessment of her character. Modern studies and recent theological analyses have begun to explore the true identity of Mary Magdalene as one of the most important disciples and a central witness to the resurrection. Mary Magdalene and the city of Magdala. Mary Magdalene was born and raised in the village of Magdala, a prosperous and bustling town on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Magdala was known for its fishing and commercial activity, attracting people from various regions of Judea and the Roman Empire. It was a vibrant community, marked by hard work and a devout religious life. At that time, Judea was under the yoke of the Roman Empire, and the Jewish people suffered from the oppressive presence of Roman soldiers and exorbitant taxes. Mary grew up in an environment of messianic hope, where many Jews longed for a leader who could free the people from Roman oppression. This historical context, with strong religious and nationalistic fervor, shaped Mary's life and set the stage for the transformative encounter she would have with Jesus. Mary Magdalene's calling and transformation. The Gospels describe Mary Magdalene as a woman tormented by evil spirits until Jesus healed her. This encounter not only freed her from spiritual affliction but also redefined the course of her life. Mary Magdalene became a loyal follower, accompanying Jesus and his disciples through various cities and villages, witnessing miracles, teachings, and healings. It is important to note that Mary Magdalene, along with other women mentioned in the Gospels, supported Jesus and his disciples financially. For example, in Luke chapter 8, verses 1-3, Mary is mentioned along with Joanna and Susanna as women who provided for Jesus out of their own means. This suggests that Mary Magdalene may have been a woman of means, which contrasts with the traditional image of a marginalized woman. Mary's unwavering presence at the crucifixion and resurrection. The crucifixion of Jesus is one of the most painful and defining moments in Christianity, and Mary Magdalene plays a fundamental role in this event. While many disciples fled and hid, fearing retaliation, Mary Magdalene stayed by Jesus' side, following him to the cross. Her presence was not only an act of devotion but also one of courage and faith. She witnessed Jesus' suffering, showing remarkable emotional and spiritual strength. The Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 25, reports that Mary Magdalene stood at the foot of the cross, alongside Mary, the mother of Jesus, and other women. This passage testifies to Mary's unwavering loyalty. Even in the face of the horror of the crucifixion, she did not abandon Jesus. After Jesus' death, Mary Magdalene had an even more extraordinary role. She was the first person to witness the resurrection. In John chapter 20, verses 1-18, Mary goes to the tomb at dawn and finds it empty. In a moment of deep sorrow and confusion, she sees the resurrected Jesus but does not initially recognize him. Only when Jesus calls her by name does Mary realize who he is, and, with a mix of emotion and reverence, she addresses him as Rabboni, teacher. This encounter is considered one of the most moving moments in the Gospels, as Jesus entrusts Mary with the mission of announcing his resurrection to the other disciples. At a time when women's voices were often marginalized, Jesus chose Mary as the first messenger of his victory over death. This act was so significant that the Church later referred to her as the Apostle of the Apostles. The Gospel of Mary and the Apocryphal Texts. Over the years, new texts have been discovered, revealing an even more complex and important image of Mary Magdalene. The Gospel of Mary, an apocryphal text found in Egypt in the late 19th century, suggests that Mary was an influential spiritual leader in the early Christian community. In this Gospel, Mary is portrayed as a figure of wisdom, sharing teachings with other disciples, especially in moments of doubt and uncertainty. In the Gospel of Mary, there is a scene of tension between Mary and Peter. Peter questions why Jesus would reveal special teachings to Mary and not to the other apostles. In response, Levi, another disciple, defends Mary, saying that Jesus trusted her and that she was worthy of sharing the teachings she had received. This apocryphal text highlights not only Mary's importance but also the difficulties women faced in being recognized as spiritual leaders. The tradition and legacy of Mary Magdalene. After the resurrection of Jesus, various traditions indicate that Mary Magdalene continued to preach the gospel, playing an active role in spreading the Christian faith. Some traditions claim that Mary traveled to Ephesus with the Apostle John, while other narratives suggest that she went to southern France, where she is said to have lived the remainder of her life in prayer and contemplation. According to this latter tradition, her remains are believed to be buried in the Basilica of Saint Mary Magdalene in Saint-Maximin-la-Sainte-Baume, France, a place that has become an important pilgrimage site. Regardless of where Mary Magdalene spent her final days, her legacy is clear. She was a courageous woman, a loyal follower, and a witness to the resurrection of Christ. Her role is remembered as an example of faith and dedication, and her story challenges the simplistic interpretations and misconceptions that have shaped her image over the centuries. The rediscovery and importance of Mary Magdalene for Christian faith. The story of Mary Magdalene is a powerful reminder of the message of redemption and transformation in Christianity. Far from being a repentant prostitute, Mary was a woman healed, restored, and integrated into the community of disciples. She is a symbol that an encounter with Jesus has the power to transform lives in a complete and profound way. By correcting historical errors and acknowledging Mary Magdalene's true contribution, we gain a richer understanding of the role of women in Jesus' ministry and in the early church. Mary Magdalene's life continues to inspire Christians around the world, reminding us that everyone, regardless of their past, is called to be a witness to the transforming power of the risen Christ. Now it's your turn to share. Did you already know this part of Mary Magdalene's story? What do you think about her true importance in early Christianity? Leave your opinion in the comments, and if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.